Hi everyone, today I'm going to give you a quick overview of creating Unattend.xml file using the Windows System Image Manager and the core components you need to be able to successfully deploy Microsoft Windows 7 using HP Client Automation as your deployment mechanism. On the desktop I simply have a folder called Master.xml, and I have a demo Unattend.xml file and a substitute file. We only need, for the capturing process, the demo Unattend.xml file, which will be renamed to Unattend.xml. But for the deployment, we actually need both files, and I'll explain why a little bit later. Let's have a look what's required to create the Unattend.xml file for the capture of your master image. To follow best practice, we should use the Microsoft Windows Automated Installation Kit and the Windows System Image Manager as the tool for editing the Unattend.xml file. Once you open the Windows System Image Manager, it can be a little bit complicated, so go slow and take your time. You simply open a Windows image by selecting the Windows image, and in this case I have the Windows 7 Enterprise x86 DVD in my CD-ROM. I go to Sources and I point to the install.wim, which is the Windows 7 install files. I then open my XML file, and if we go to my desktop, to master, I have my demo Unattend.xml file. And now I have the passes that Microsoft Windows 7 uses as part of the sysprep process for deployment and capture, and also the components. What I have here in my Unattend.xml file is the bare minimum required for a successful deployment, so use this as a template. Under WinPE, in the first pass, we have the setup language set to English Australian because we're in Australia. Under Microsoft Windows Shell Setup, we have this configuration with a create option and a modify option. The image install is what partition is being installed, which is partition 1, and the user data field must be filled out. In this case, you will put your Windows 7 license key in here. For a successful deployment, you need to install the license key in 2 places. This is the first part, and it's mandatory. Once you have created that, you'll see under offline servicing, there is also the Windows plug and play customization non-WinPE neutral in our sample file. We do not need to change this at all, but we must leave it there. Under generalize, we also have plug and play sysprep and Windows Shell Setup. Please do not change these also, because that will mean an unsuccessful deployment. It is also very important you don't change the registered owner here to from auto BBT to anyone else. Specialize is where all the action happens as part of the deployment. To add any of these options here is simply go over to the component. For example, we want to add unattend Windows join. We right click and choose add to the correct pass, which we already have here. So for the Windows deployment neutral, we need to add extend OS partition equals true. If you do not do that, you'll end up with a failed installation. Under Windows Security SPPUX neutral, we need to say skip auto activation equals true. Under Microsoft Windows Shell Setup neutral, we need to enter your product key here. This is important that you enter it as a second time here. You do not need to change anything else in this pass. Then we add the auto logon. For the domain, it's just a full stop. We then say enabled, the logon count of 3, the username as administrator, and your local administrator password. In this case, it is encrypted. Under Microsoft Windows Unattend join neutral, we have added in the domain to join psg.local, and if you wish you could add a machine object OU. We've also added the credentials that is used to create the domain authentication for joining the domain, and we're joining the psg.local domain with the correct username and password. There is nothing in 5 and nothing in the 6 pass that we need to add. Under 7, we need to add Microsoft Windows International Core, and we need to set our locale to English AU or English US or whatever your location code is for your language. Under Microsoft Windows Shell Setup, we also need this completed correctly. I have the registered owner here, the registered owner's organization and name. I'm not showing the Microsoft Windows Live, and I'm setting my time zone to Eastern Australian Standard Time for Brisbane. I'm also setting the auto logon information and the auto logon password for the administrator. I have set the display information at 32-bit color, 1024/768 with a 60 refresh. The first logon command is also set, which is to synchronize the HPC agent as part of the installation. I've also added the OEM information to help with support information for customers. So you may wish to add the manufacturer, the model, the support hours, the local number, for example Australia is 131047, and the URL. The out-of-box experience, or UBI, we're hiding the EULA pages. We're setting the network location to work. These are just drop-down options. You do not need to know how to add the correct syntax or string here. Protect your PC as 3, and we're skipping the UBI. I'm also, for user accounts, adding a local administrator. So we have under user accounts administrator password encrypted. We also have a local account called local admin as a description. Display name is ITS, his name is ITS, and he's a member of the local administrators group. And we're setting a password for that user. If you wish to go further and add anything with more detail, you simply go over to the correct hive that you wish to add, such as Microsoft Windows Shell Setup, and go over to Start Panel Links and choose to add it to the correct pass within the Unattend.xml file. Once you've completed the Unattend.xml file as above, you need to save the Unattend.xml file. We'll simply save that. You should not get any errors as part of the save. Occasionally you have validation errors down here. Please ignore those as long as you do not get an error as part of the save. Your Unattend.xml file will work perfectly. We can now close Windows System Image Manager, and to capture the image we would rename this to Unattend.xml, and we would copy this file to C:\Windows System 32 sysprep into the correct directory. From there we would use the image preparation wizard within HPCA. From the image capture CD we would run prepwiz, which would call Microsoft sysprep, reboot the machine into Windows PE, and capture your master image up until your console. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email me at asksimon@hp.com.